Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leaf. Coming to you live from deep within the Church of Satan's Visitor Snack Bar and Gift Shop Annex. It's the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. Tonight, the boys start things off by interviewing James Brown of Black Label Trading Company. James is the main man behind tonight's fantastic cigar, the NBK, from his newly formed Blackwork Studio. In a nice change of pace, our crew will be pairing the stogie with a refreshing glass of mineral water, procured from, yeah, right, while discussing the 1992 Charlie Sheen biker flick, Beyond the Law. Our three Tuesday night heroes will be slamming pint after delicious, potent pint of Old Rasputin Russian Imperial Stout from North Coast Brewing Company. You down with 9% ABV? Yeah, you know me. So it sounds like the gang is going to have more fun tonight than Charlie Sheen at a Sorry folks, I'm waving the white flag on this one. So sit back, light 'em up, and enjoy the show.
Now I'd like to welcome our first guest of 2016, who's here via the magical power of the interwebs to introduce tonight's cigar. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Mr. James Brown of Black Label Trading Company. How goes it, James?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for joining us. Just to kind of catch people up to speed, we have kind of a mixed demographic audience. We have a lot of film folks, kind of learning. We've got quite a number growing craft beer and on the beverage side. But you know, our heart and why we started the whole damn thing is with cigars. I mean, that's kind of our bread and butter, our true love, if you will. If you could just tell everybody, I know Black Label Trading Company was established, fairly recently, 2013. Let's start there. Let's go back 5 years prior to that. Where were you at, and kind of take us up to where you got to where Black Label Trading Company, was off the ground running.
Yeah, so how the cigar thing for us started was my wife and I owned an adventure travel company in Central America. So we were based out of Guatemala, ran these trips all through Guatemala, Belize, all the way down through Nicaragua, Honduras, all the way down to Panama. And we did that for several years, and during that time, we started spending a lot of time in Nicaragua, meeting people. I'd always been a cigar enthusiast. I'd always smoked. So being able to spend that time in Nicaragua and Esteli specifically, really just kind of tried to envelop myself, with tobacco and everything that was going on here. I ended up meeting a few people, learning as much as I could about tobacco and blending cigars, and just kind of off and on spent about 3 years doing that. After that time, started blending cigars for our clients on our trips.
Okay.
And then the people on our trips would smoke the cigars, and everybody kind of fell in love with them. And at the end, everyone wanted to know where they could get the cigars. And that's what kind of spurred us into, going into making cigars full time and actually starting a company.
Okay. Real quick, our boy Tuttle over here just lit up. What happened over there? Did you retrohale?
No. It's allergies.
Allergies, huh? Every once in a while, it'll smell so good, he'll have the urge to do it. And he's like, I won't do it while the camera's rolling, but we got it. We'll go back and review that later.
Nice.
We've all, I should mention, we've all just lit up the NBK from James's Blackwork Studio, kind of a subdivision of Black Label Trading Company.
So that is like a subdivision?
I think we're going to I'll get to that here in a little bit.
Okay.
So basically through the trips and taking your clients down to Central America, and you just had more and more experience with the cigar factories, with rolling. Did you find just because it's one of those things that everyone seems to, who's passionate about cigars, seems to think, I'd like to roll my own. I think I'd be good at doing my own blends, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's even harder thing to do to end up down there as a permanent residence with your banner behind you and your own company. I mean, what am I wrong? Because we met you here right before New Year's, I guess, out at TJ's Cigar Lounge in McGregor. Fantastic spot if you're in the area. McGregor, Texas, TJ's Cigar Lounge. But I remember your wife Angela saying, was there something with the wine? You guys had something in the wine industry in between those points?
Yeah, before the travel company, we both.
Oh, it was before the travel.
Industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a sommelier for several years. So it was second level. Worked around at a lot of restaurants, and my wife worked on the distribution side of wine, and so yeah, we both have background history in the wine business.
Okay, because
and it's one of those things that all kind of goes hand in hand. Very into wine, very into food, and then
there's
that's
a lot of
actually
similarities.
what brought me into cigars. Is one of the restaurants I worked for. The owner was a big cigar smoker, and I started smoking cigars.
Do you consider yourself? I think you would have to, as far as from the wine side, to have a discernible palate, and then that's a trait you could carry into blending cigars. You've got.
Yeah, I think I got really lucky with my palate for some reason.
I think it's a genetic. Like a superhero.
They don't all wear capes.
They don't all wear capes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those weird things, and I see it a lot with a lot of similarities in the wine world and the cigar world, as far as having that capability of pulling out certain things and actually coming out with a blend that does what you intend it to do.
Yeah, and I think obviously on the wine side, I was never on the actual making of it, so it was always deciphering the final product. Where what I like about the cigar side is, for me, I kind of visualize flavors in my head, and I can kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, and that's what I really enjoy about working with tobacco. Is I can pinpoint specific flavor profiles that I want to highlight, and then start working the blend from there.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things that fascinates me the most. I mean, we interviewed Steve Saka end of last year, and hearing what he does in the blending process, going from stack of tobacco leaves to tobacco leaves and tweaking them just a little bit, knowing what he's going to. I mean, that's so out of our mindset of what we'd ever be capable of. It's they are our superheroes. That was a very good point, Tut. But at what point? I mean, like I said, it's so hard to make that move from cigar enthusiast, as you said, to actually setting up shop. Now, originally you set up, you had another factory making your initial batch of cigars.
Correct.
But then you very quickly transitioned. I mean, and relatively speaking, you pretty quickly got your own setup going. I mean, how were you able to pull that off?
Well, here's the thing is, you kind of touched on a couple points. One of the things is that we wanted to go into the cigar industry and, not just be another guy that decides to put out a cigar. So we took quite a long time developing Black Label and developing what it was going to look like. Yeah, almost 2 years. Like, what's it going to feel like? What are the cigars going to be? Exactly what are we going for here? And when we launched with 6 lines, and everybody that we knew in the industry just thought we were nuts.
Well, that's crazy.
Like,
I mean,
it's. I think what it did for us is it showed that we're a brand, we're a company.
Right.
We're serious about this. We have 6 cigars that stand on their own.
A brand right out of the gate. I mean, 6 different lines. I mean, that's a ballsy kind of. I'm not gonna say unprecedented, but I mean it's a ballsy, unique push in the door.
Yeah, but it shows you that you are a brand. This is our lineup. It's not just a one trick or a
well, no, and it kind of in effect, and that's what I kind of when reading up on you guys and what I did know about Black Label is like, that's basically skipping several years of this gradual thing and be like, no, we took that time at the before you ever knew about us, we were planning, we were strategizing, and then boom, here it is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, we took that very seriously and wanted to, right out of the gate, kind of make our footprint. And, going from that with the same mindset, it's a tough business, and it's a tough business when you're working with someone else and when you're relying on someone else, to get your product out there and to get it out there the way that you want it and the way that you think it should be. And so, after a year or so of dealing with that, the factory, may not have made sense from the financial standpoint at that time, but for everything else, it was the right thing to do, and we just went for it. So it was kind of, how do we take this thing to the next level? It's not going to be easy, got to come and live in SLE and everything else that goes along with that, but,
Sure.
it was worth it.
How is the, obviously you're a little bit different than some of the gringos we've talked to with Skip Martin and Steve, like, you actually were down there, doing in Central America, doing so many other things. I guess the cultural transition probably hasn't been that much.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. If
Are
we
you
were
originally
coming
from
the US,
Are you originally from Texas? Is that correct?
correct. Yeah, Austin, Texas.
Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, if we were coming from the U.S., it'd be a totally different story. But
Sure.
we were living in Guatemala full time. Had already been there for about 4 years. So it was kind of not too different. It's definitely SLE's got its own set of quirks and stuff. So we're still getting used to that, but it's
Okay.
good overall.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: for some of our listeners, that vary the gamut from, like our boy Cody here, who's more on the mild to lower side of medium, to the hardcore, dark Oscuro junkies like me and Tut. What would you recommend out of your core line? The most accessible line to find in the brick and mortars and online. What would you recommend for the mild to medium guy off the bat?
Yeah. So what we do, like with the Black Label core line, when you see it in the store, what you'll
Do we lose him?
like a dark gray box. And so the things that we have in the white boxes, which would be the benediction and royalty, are going to be on the lighter side of medium. And then everything in the natural boxes, so lawless, salvation, are going to be kind of in that medium wheelhouse. And then the last rites and then any of our limited releases tend to kind of push the more medium to full body.
Okay, so kind of a color go by. You kind of dropped down on us for 1 second at the beginning. So it's basically go by you've color graded the boxes according to strength. That's helpful.
Yeah, so when you see our lineup in any humidor, you're going to see the white boxes, the natural, and then the darker boxes. So.
All right, Cody, white boxes.
All right, I'm going.
I can't believe I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, I can't believe either. We got TJs and we're looking at them, and we're talking to when Ben was there, and I never got that. That's good. That's more help than most brands give you in figuring out what the hell you're gonna dive into. Okay, and then while we're on the subject of the boxes and the branding, the Black Label Trading Company, and it moves on to not quite the Blackwork stuff is kind of taken on a different aesthetic a little bit. But let's talk about Black Label for a second. They're just kind of drenched in kind of gothic imagery. Skulls and a complete absence of color on the bandy. They're black and white. And I was telling Tuttle earlier, it reminds me of a good scene in Expendables 2. We do a lot of action movies on the show.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where they're in a bar, and Stallone pulls out his pen to write something down, and it's just covered in skulls. This ballpoint pen, and Jason Statham's like, "Don't you own anything that's not covered in skulls?" And Stallone's like, "No."
But that's why I'll usually when I look at their label stuff, I'm like, that's a cigar the Expendables crew would
Black
smoke.
Label. Oh yeah, the fact that these haven't shown up in an Expendables movie yet is, hey, they're making a new one. There's still a chance.
There you go. Yeah.
But I mean, what is that? Your personal, is that your personal style, your personal aesthetic? Is that? I know it's motorcycle culture. I know it's. Fill us in a little bit on where you're coming from at it from an artistic side.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of for me, the whole thing, you guys talking about movies and all that stuff, it kind of hits home for me because, with cigars, I kind of look at it as a type of expression. So I get inspiration from movies and music and everything else when I think about branding for a cigar. And with Black Label, I just really wanted the brand to be something that would appeal to me as a consumer when I walked into a humidor. So, I felt for a long time as a consumer when I walked into a humidor, a bunch of, traditional labels, everything in Spanish just didn't really say anything to me. It didn't say anything about the cigar. So I wanted branding and I wanted names for the cigars that really said something about the stick, that let people know this is what you're in for, So we wanted to go with the skull theme, and with that it can either be cheesy or really cool. So there's a fine line there. And so that's why we decided to keep it more kind of gothic and a little bit more elegant in feel.
Yeah.
I would say you accomplished that. I mean, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's some other cigar lines that have I think done it not from an honest place where you're coming from, but well, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, there's some cheesy ones out there, but no,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've never smoked a Sons of Anarchy cigar, damn it. But okay, well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And one thing, it's not even in my notes, but I just it reminded me of this. Talking to your wife Angela back at TJ's last year, she said she kind of just briefly touched upon your history as an artist. And that you were, kind of slowly integrating a lot of your artwork into the factory there in Esteli. Is that kind of your aesthetic also as an artist? Is it the same type, same kind of?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Kind of dark. A lot of gothic themes and things like that. So yeah, definitely. It's basically my personality coming out of the cigar.
Well, I look forward. One of these days, we're gonna make our trek down there, and before I got suckered into this podcast gig, I made horror films. So I'm
awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to check out some of your stuff. You did sucker me into this, by the way. Don't give me those Manson lamps.
And now I can't get out.
It's just God. Where are we going from here? So now that Black Label's well established, and it seems, I think out of that original core 6 lines, 5 are still. You recently dropped one?
We did, yeah.
What is the one that was?
The Redemption line.
The Redemption line. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say Morphine? It seems like Morphine is the one I hear the most about. Would you say Morphine's one of the big boys?
It's a popular stick. It debuted in 2014. We do it as a limited release. Just it's a very difficult cigar to make, and the tobacco that we use for it is hard for us to source in big quantities. So, it's just one of those things that there is a little when it first launched. There's a little controversy about the names and this and that, and it kind of has a Silence of the Lambs theme going with it. And so for some reason, a lot of people, just really connected with it and, fell in love with the cigar. And so it did great on its first release and its second release.
Do you give any kind of credence to I think it comes mainly from some of the, the more traditional, more well-established guys that have been around that, when you name a stick like Morphine and they're like, with the FDA coming at us, trying to make up some bullshit cock and bull story about us trying to lure in kids to buy $12 premium cigars. We got to be careful what we name them, and we got to be cautious. Do you give any kind of, or do you just name it what the hell you want and
go to any effing vape store and it's like chocolate chip cookie Oreo?
Well, vapes are harmless, Tut.
Jeez.
All the studies have... Oh, wait, there are no studies. All those people that suck on that vape are going to be crystallized zombies in 10 years. You watch it.
Right.
But I mean, do you give any kind of credence to the looming FDA when you're, or if you got a cool name and a cool band, are you like, you know what the hell? If kids aren't kids aren't going into premium cigar shops, we all know that. The job.
I think we do both, and I think morphine for me personally, I can't see where that crosses the line and
I can't either.
The teenager want to buy it or whatever the case,
Yeah.
So, but I do think that line exists. I personally don't think we've crossed it, and we're not going out of our way to cross it, because I think at the end of the day, I mean, I think we all do have to be, somewhat responsible for what we're putting out there. So I think that we're very lucky to have the leniency that we have right now, and to kind of push that, I don't think is a smart choice. But I don't personally feel like we've done that. I think,
and I don't
there
either.
were a few people that had an issue with the name. I don't know why they had an issue with it, but
yeah. And I honestly had never even thought of that till you said it. It never would have occurred to me that somebody would have nitpicked that one. But whatever you do, somebody's gonna have a problem.
It's not like you're actually smoking morphine.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So with Black Label, well established at this point, and it seems to be you're just growing more and more. It's getting out there, whether through brick and mortars and online. I know Cigar Federation has been a really good partner for you guys. Tell us a little bit about Blackwork Studio. What is the goal? What was the idea behind kind of doing am I right in calling it kind of a subdivision of Black Label?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a separate company altogether. So, when we decided to launch the factory, one of the perks of that is we really wanted to use the factory sort of as an umbrella, and to be able to launch new lines and new cigars, several different ways, not just through Black Label. So we really wanted to grow as a factory. And, the thing with Black Label is it's been out there, it's been around. We have our hardcore fans, and they expect what they expect out of the cigars. So for me personally, I'm kind of always ready to put something new out there, so we're constantly working on blends. And so, Blackworks is the first of probably several smaller brands that will come out under the Oveja Negra umbrella.
And I love that. It reminds me of Drew Estate. It's like if something fits under the natural line, we do the natural. If something fits under the Liga Privada line, we do the Liga Privada. If something falls under, you've got a home for it. You just create it, be inspired, create it, and then find what, like you said, what part of the umbrella it fits into.
Right. So for the Blackworks for us is just the ability to be able to put out small production stuff, where the brand that's all it's about, is just us experimenting and, doing these random cigars that we want to do, and, we'll make however many we make, and then some next new is coming. So
will you also use the Blackworks to do any kind of if someone wants to utilize your factory and your skill set to blend a custom, whether it's a brick and mortar or whether it's an online retailer, are you open to kind of working with outside partners to come up with kind of private blends? Or
Oh yeah, definitely. We do a couple of private labels. We also do a couple of exclusives through Black Label. So if somebody wanted to do a Blackworks project, we'd totally be down for that. So it's just as long as it fits in that, profile that we're working with. So, and that's the thing is the two companies, yes, we make both cigars, but the wheelhouse for each company is completely different. So,
James, before we got on here, when we started the show, I was bringing up, don't you laugh. There's a chain I've become aware of here, and it's big here in Texas, Papa Murphy's Pizza. And basically what they do is you go in and they make you a pizza to your specifications, but then you
take it home.
You take it home and you bake it at home. It's kind of the Toll House Cookies business model. They make the dough.
Yeah.
Apparently there's the price of ovens is just astronomical to where these businesses, they come up with like 2/3 the game plan. We can make the stuff, but when it comes to actually finishing the job, well, but rather than say, screw it, we'll just abandon the idea, they just like, we'll make them bake it. We'll make the pizza, but we'll take... So I got this idea. I was talking to the guys earlier. I was like, you buy a box of tobacco. I'm going to call it it's a box of tobacco leaves. We'll call it the tea box. You get home, you open it. It's separated into 3 sections: your wrapper leaves, your binder, and some filler tobacco. And it's up to you to roll your own damn cigar. Would that be something that that Blackworks would be open to?
Yeah, you never know.
Oh, jeez, no.
Hold on.
Don't humor him.
Hold on. Don't humor me.
Does it come with molds and presses and everything else?
Well, there's a you got to upgrade. When you order your box,
Now he's turning it into a pyramid scheme.
You got to upgrade. But you want to hear my logo I came up with?
Go ahead.
We leaf it up to you.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
You've been working on that for a while, haven't you?
James likes it. No, literally,
I am embarrassed.
It literally just dawned on me in the last 24 hours. I saw Papa Murphy's, and my daughter wanted Toll House cookies. I was like,
I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I'm so sorry.
copyright 2016 Tuesday Night Cigar Club, the tea box.
Thank God you didn't say put it in a bag.
Well, tonight, enough about that silly tea box. Tonight we are smoking, and this is a rare one. Usually, occasionally on the show, we'll get a cigar we're smoking, and Tuttle is a brick and mortar freak. He goes in every week and just buys up new shit, and a lot of times I'll think we'll start the show and I hand out the cigars thinking, hey, it's going to be a new experience for everybody. He's like, oh, I had this. I've smoked a dozen of these already. But this is a weird one tonight because Cody and I actually, James handed off some MBK to Cody and I when we met him out at TJ's. You have not had this one.
No.
So that's what we're smoking tonight. Tell us a little bit about the NBK.
Yeah, so MBK is a cigar that I played with for quite a long time, probably about 1.5 years, almost 2 years in the making. So just had this idea about the cigar and started working with it. It's gone through several vitolas, several wrapper changes, and probably about 1 year ago we settled on the 6x46 box press with this particular wrapper. But it's just, my goal was to come up with a cigar that was, with the idea of Blackworks, that was something totally out of the norm for what we've done with Black Label. So we wanted to go with something that, had a bit more spice to it, highlighted a lot of kind of malted, hoppy, cedary flavors, not so much just the rich chocolate bar type cigar. So for us, this was a very different project. And, love the way that it turned out. And so this was actually the first stick that we blended for Blackworks.
And I think there was 2 to follow. There was the Killer Bee.
Yeah, and the Rorschach.
And the Rorschach. No, those are not shop exclusives. Those are going to be available.
Yes. Yeah. So, obviously our hardcore great Black Label retailers brought in the Blackworks first, and now they're spreading nationwide. So they're out there.
Well, I'm going to just do a spoiler alert here. I'm going to get your opinion here in a second because we've been smoking on the MBK. We usually go to the cigar a lot more initially on the fat, but I wanted to smoke it while we were talking to you. Cody and I loved the cigar when you gave it to us at TJ's. Right. So much so we actually, when TJ shut down, we weren't done yet, so we purposefully let it burn out and drove back to Cody's pub in Central Texas and relit. And it is I've had several of the Black Label lines, and you're right, it's completely different. And that spice and the cedar, and I will say, I know you said you didn't want to be kind of the smoking a chocolate bar kind of, but I do get a lot of really nice cocoa notes on it. Especially on the retro hail. I was wondering about Cody being more on the mild side, but I mean, you were kind of blown away then. How's it working for you tonight?
It's still the same. I mean, I very much like that. Like you mentioned, there's that spice. I'm getting that towards on the backside for myself, and I enjoy that. I mean, before I lit it up, I mean, just to smell. I mean, the aroma, like I said, cedar picked up. That kind of fine leather smell.
Yeah.
That
you mentioned the leather TJs too. That's one of the biggest things you picked up on.
I love that smell when a cigar has that.
Yeah, it has a really nice aroma.
Yeah.
So,
what are you? About halfway into the stick. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. Man, it snapped pepper right from that light. It was just like smack. There you are.
Yeah.
So it was great.
Is that when you started coughing like a little girl over there?
It was allergies. It's
there's a lot of cedar in the air here in Central Texas.
And then speaking of cedar, it molded into that cedar taste after that. And like I said, that leather. The thing I like is that when you put the cigar down and you smell your fingers after, it's got that leather smell just all over, and that cedar mixed with it. It's good.
It's a really good cigar, and I'm a big fan of the box press. When you were blending this, you mentioned it went through several different kind of incarnations. Did you always envision a box press, or was that more of a like, I'm not getting what I want, maybe we'll try this? I mean, was it a kind of utilitarian, like, I think maybe a box press will help me get what I want out of this?
Yeah, so the box press version was the latest version that we had out of this cigar, and it just, once we box pressed it, everything just kind of came together. So, I love a box press cigar anyway, but I think that with this particular blend, it really kind of brought everything together in the right way.
Why is that? What on the blending side? What about a box press? Because in my early smoking days, I was kind of opposed to box presses, just from an aesthetic standpoint. I just I was more of a traditional, but then over the last few years, I've kind of really grown fond of them, and I do think they smoke a little bit different, but I'm not sure why. What is it about the box press that gives it something?
Well, normally you're gonna change up the blend a little bit because you're gonna do a different roll with the box press. So you're gonna do a little bit of a looser roll to it because you want to be able to have it expand and still draw properly once you press it. For us, we treat our box press cigars very differently. So what we do is we roll the cigar, and then we actually put them in kind of big Ziplocs, still wet from the rolling table. And then we age those for about 2 weeks and keep them wet in that bag. And then we press them, and then we age them another 90 to 120 days, whatever it is for the cigar. So we treat ours a little bit differently.
Well, the construction on this is great. I love the texture and the way it feels. The burn line's great, and the smoke profile is beautiful. I love that back exit I've got going.
You're big on smoke profile, and honestly, this is smoking exactly like the one we smoked, going on over a month ago.
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Just absolute straight burn line. I mean, those things don't necessarily, they're nice, but for me, I mean, it's flavor-wise, it is super consistent with what we had from that kind of pre-release or early release one you handed us. I mean, it's just a really flavorful smoke.
Yes.
And I'd be comfortable giving this to somebody who, if they're strictly medium.
Yeah, I would too.
This is not going to knock anybody's socks off. I mean, this is really straight down the medium. You might even find it a little bit softer. I mean, there's nothing that's gonna scare anybody off about this.
No, I enjoy it.
Yeah, and for us, with the Blackworks line, the Black Label Trading Company cigars have a sort of richness to them. They have this sort of pretty softness on a lot of the cigars. To me, they're very elegant flavor profiles. With Blackworks, we wanted it to kind of have like this little bit of gritty edge to it. And, I think that's what we've accomplished with the MBK and the Killer Bee and the Rorschach is, it has this nice gritty tobacco thing going on that really, screams Nicaraguan tobacco.
It does, but you know it's a Habano Oscuro wrapper. There's nothing gritty about it. I mean, it is just a beautiful wrapper. It's got a really nice sheen. There's no toothiness to it all. I mean, it's just it's just a beautiful cigar. Why, with a very flavorful kind of non-aggressive flavor profile? Why the name NBK? Why Natural Born Killer for this one and not some Lajero monster that's going to knock you on your ass?
Well, actually, the cigars changed a lot over the aging process. So when this cigar is fresh, I mean, it's a
natural
monster.
born. It's a natural born killer.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's like, the nicotine levels are super high, and when we were first smoking them, that was kind of our name for it, just because, smoking them fresh, it was tough, man. I mean, you definitely had to eat your lunch.
Well, that's
kind of where the name stemmed from.
Okay, well that makes sense, but it's interesting the transition here because it is.
Yeah, I found that pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not by any means a beast. It's just it's got really nice notes of cedar, cocoa, and just despite what happened to you, the retrohale on me is the big one. Like I'm really enjoying the retrohale on this thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, for our listeners and viewers, don't judge retro hair by me.
no. You've done that why have all nights during an interview did you choose to retrohale?
It just happened.
It happens. Well, very cool. We also on a I'm not sure if it'll be our next episode, but definitely we also are going to feature The Last Rites. And I believe The Last Rites is more of a natural born killer. It's one of your powerhouses, am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your palate. I mean, for me, after smoking it for about 5 years now, it's hard for me to get the same thing out of it that other people do.
Sure.
But yeah, I do remember when we first came out with that cigar, and it sneaks up on you. I mean, it's a big stick. So, but I think that when I describe it, people always ask about the strength of the cigar. And to me, there's two strengths. So you have the strength of the flavors, and then you have the strength when it comes to nicotine. So
right.
I think flavor-wise, the cigar is full body. It's got a lot going on, a lot of complexity. Nicotine-wise, I think it's right at the medium to full. So it's not going to knock you down, but you'll know that you're smoking it for sure.
Okay. Well, tonight we are Yak Boy. We are pairing the NBK tonight with what are we drinking?
North Coast Brewing's Old Rasputin Imperial Russian Stout.
Imperial Russian Stout.
Yeah.
The reason we are pairing it with this beer, I should mention, Derek out at Derek Matthews at TJ's suggested, he's a big Black Label fan, and he suggested, and he's a big Tuesday Night Cigar Club fan, and he was like, you know what? I listen to your guys' shows a lot. I kind of know what works for you, and when you guys kind of get turned off by a cigar and the pairing goes south, he's like, for me, the best pairing with the NBK is a stout with kind of a bitter finish on it, and Cody got the Rasputin, and I got to say, it's pairing beautifully.
The old Rasputin, it does have, in terms of bitterness, the IBU is about 70, 75. So like, as you said, a bitter stout.
It's bitter.
But it's not that overpowering bitter like an IPA.
No, it doesn't have the IPA.
It's much smoother, creamier on that aspect. And I've had Old Rasputin before, and that was what came to mind when he mentioned bitter stout. I thought of that. So
it's a good pairing. It's a really, really good pairing. I think Derek had mentioned he had tried pairing the NBK with an ale, and he's like,
yeah,
much go with the stout, and yeah, he's right. It's kind of working like a good dessert. The cedar and the cocoa and on the cigar, and a lot of spice. A lot of nice spice, not like kind of kick you in the nuts black pepper, but just a really nice kind of a red pepper spice. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to turning, maybe not one of our newbie listeners, but if you've had a couple cigars and you've kind of gotten a feel for the lay of the land, yeah, jump on in, grab one of these bad boys. If they're not available,
I agree. I'd have no problem turning this on to anybody, even if it is a novice smoker. I'd still say go.
So you would say just for out of the gate, this is. Well,
it's kind of like skiing, Cade. You just put them on that black diamond and say, point your skis downhill. That's how you're going to learn.
James, we did a skiing movie last time, and our boy Cody just got back today from Colorado, so we're entrenched in ski analogies and powder and all these things that means nothing to me as a Texan. But to learn where you can get these bad boys is the best place to go, blacklabeltrading.com.
Yeah, or you can follow us on our Facebook page.
And I do recommend following James and Angela, his wife, on Facebook and Instagram because, much like I said when we had Skip Martin on the show, it's kind of like the film equivalent of a behind-the-scenes DVD documentary where you get to see, these people living their dream and doing it and setting up, these ground roots factories from scratch. And I think I told Skip, if you have that hunger for cigar knowledge, it's really cool to see these things kind of adapt. And I think I used the term cigar boner. Well, no, I told Skip if we ever do a Tuesday Night Cigar Club crossover smoke, it'll be the
cigar boner,
the Cro-Magnon boner. And he shot us down. He shot us down pretty quick on that.
So the Black Society boner?
So we'll move. James, that leaves an opening there. If you're, have you ever considered a Black Label Trading Company bone? No, I think that'd be Black Works. I think the Black Works boner.
I thought Black Works was doing the tea bag or the
well, James.
No.
No.
It's a TNCC line. We're a brand.
We're trying to. We got a line like you. We're not going to come out with one line. We got a plethora of. We got the boner. We got the tea box. We got I'm working, boys. I'm always working.
You're working.
Yeah, I'm working something. Well, James, we appreciate your time. I highly recommend the NBK, and I agree with you, Todd. There's nothing here that's going to scare away one of our newer cigar smokers that we, our goal is to lure people in with the film talk or maybe the beer talk, and then they're like, God damn, those guys were having so much. The way they were describing those cigars and those flavors, what the hell? Let's me and the wife go down to the local thing, and we've had that. We've had people tell us, they've gone down to their little local cigar shop and kind of dipped their toes in the cigar world, and that's what it's about. I mean, that's
definitely.
I discovered cigars through film. I was a young kid watching Predator, and I watched Arnold chomping on that stogie, and I was like, yeah, I want that. I want to do that. And maybe that's not the politically correct thing to say, but I think that's how that's how you inspire, and that's how you get new people, is you find them in other aspects of the culture, whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's podcast, whatever, and you just like, you know what, this is there's nothing different about going on your back porch after a big meal and enjoying a glass of wine as there is lighting up a cigar. Try it. You might be surprised what you find. And I think you're right. I think NBK would be a good welcome to the culture cigar.
And it's a good. I've been in the culture. I'm at this doctor's meeting. I'm going to step outside on the balcony and light up.
Yeah. And again, just real quick before my last question, I just want to emphasize, we smoked this over a month ago. I mean,
it was about a month.
It was before New Year, a little before Christmas.
Yeah.
and the flavor profile and the construction is exactly what we
That's what I like to hear.
experienced, which is rare. I mean, it's the time you talk about spending, making sure you do things right. It's evident in the product. So keep doing what you're
Thank
doing. Last question, James. Then I'll let you loose to get back to experimenting in the Blackwork studio. What's your favorite movie?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm a big movie buff, so that's tough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, so I'm gonna go with Life Aquatic.
What was that?
Life Aquatic.
Life Aquatic.
All right.
We should have all worn our little red ski caps
Get a
tonight.
little video on it.
Okay, that's that. You know, we ask everybody that question. That's a good one. I don't know you guys. I personally really like the film.
Oh yeah.
That might be the last great weird Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
That after it was right after Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
And I love Tenenbaums. To me,
It's a great movie. There's just something about the Bill Murray character that just kind
the
of.
father.
I think the progression of the character through the movie really made it stand out to me. So it's one of the films I enjoy. I mean,
But you know what? That actually ties in well on a kind of subliminal note with the amount of detail and planning you talk about going into your cigar. I mean, Wes Anderson is notorious for. I mean, the amount of storyboarding and care, and every shot is perfectly centered and composed like that. I can see that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you jokers would ever be up for a Wes Anderson film here on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
But maybe we'll do that for Last Rites.
Okay.
Tonight,
We're totally not in that realm.
we're not in that realm tonight, James. When we cut you loose here, I went with the whole, when we met you in McGregor, our last image of you was jumping on your motorcycle and riding off into the sunlight, which was a very. You're a bike guy. What was it? What is the bike you drive?
that actually wasn't me.
That wasn't him. That even makes it more mysterious. You were on a bike. You don't have to say.
I thought because you were talking about.
I described it to Tuttle because he is a bike guy. He drove bikes for years.
The bike you were describing is a Ducati, and I was like, "Really, Ducati, huh?" I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Which is it's a beautiful
hopped in my
bike.
rental car and
No, it was not. It was not. It was a two-wheel car.
I
Okay,
think
well,
you're thinking of Desmo. Desmo Smith is the guy that drives. The
I bet you
Ducati.
so because he was there at the Skip interview, and I remember seeing because I wasn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet at the last time that y'all did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was that guy's Ducati. Sorry,
Okay. Well,
dude. Drink less.
Yeah.
no, Cody and I both saw James get on a motorcycle, fire it up. Now, granted, we left before he left, so maybe he was just playing on it.
That's how they're going to remember you.
No,
But I-
always driving.
but-
it's a better image than the rental car. So I think we just go with it.
I was wondering how you got that motorcycle there from Nicaragua, but then I was like, the guy's it's Blackworks magic. It's alchemy. He's working crazy, crazy stuff. Okay, well, I went with a biker movie tonight because of it is the Black Label. It is heavy into
Oh yeah, definitely.
into that. So we're going to be doing a biker movie tonight, and I think it was the right choice.
It was.
But we'll do something maybe a little more measured for the Last Rites. We'll see. Everyone go to blacklabeltrading.com. Follow James on Facebook.
Hit their Facebook, yeah.
And Instagram for sure. And they post a lot of great pics and information. And you know what? We'll try to hook up next time you're back home in Texas. I know
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
entrenched there, and you're doing great work. But next time you're back, let us know, and we'll bump heads and maybe do a deal out at TJ's. But thanks for taking the time for talking to us, and let's get the good word out there.
Cool. Appreciate it, man. It's good
All right,
to see you
James.
guys.
Hey, have a good night, man. Appreciate it.
You too.
Thanks. Well, thank you, James Brown. That was a good introduction to the cigar, and I want to do more of that.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
I want the guy who actually made the cigar to tell us what we're smoking tonight.
I had never met the dude, never seen the guy, never seen even a picture of him before tonight, and so I was kind of like, Black Society. I was expecting just this big,
You're
what's
expecting
up?
Glenn Danzig.
What's up, Tuesday Night Cigar Club? Oh, guy was so well spoken, very thoughtful about what he does.
Yeah,
Very
it was
cool.
good.
Kind of like with Tut there. I was expecting him to be like tuning a guitar while he was talking to us, and like smoke rising up behind him.
I just walked in.
We weren't interviewing Anton LaVey. It wasn't like the Church of Satan. The guy likes skulls.
No, it
But
was
still,
really,
it'd be cool.
no,
I'm not saying that it wouldn't.
it was really cool. I like the Wes Anderson shout out he did there, and
Yeah,
you
that was
made
an
you made a great point that Wes Anderson is such a detailed oriented director, and this guy, it's obvious the amount of work, the effort that he puts
what
into
he spoke to
cigars.
his blending process fit in line with that.
To learn more about the time I served briefly as treasurer for the Satan's Helpers motorcycle gang, only to get stabbed repeatedly in the gut when the Secret Santa money came up a few dollars short, read my tantalizing expose, Touch My Mustache Again and I'll Kill You, My Life on the Edge of Sanity, by Keith A. Howell. Available wherever tasteful and yet morally questionable erotica is sold. In the meantime, to learn more about the cigars and libations enjoyed on tonight's episode, you can visit www.blacklabeltrading.com and www.northcoastbrewing.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well.